So once you get your doors off, there's just some number 2 square head screws all the way around here on the inside frame. Pull the door, cut the sealant around the outside. The door just comes right out. On these side skirts where the seam is, they've used about 10,000 staples, so those all have to be either pulled out, or better yet, if you've got a multi-tool, just run the multi-tool up in here and cut the staples. And this lower jack bracket has to be loosened up, and again, cut your sealant, and this whole panel comes off. Here are just some of the rusted fasteners that were on here. I only did like not even half of them. There's still tons more. So I'm just going to cut them with the multi-tool. And once that phylon is off, you've got access to the screws that fasten this whole wall, or this whole skirt, to the main structure. So there's a bunch of Phillips head screws that go into the all the way down into the main structure. So once those are removed, they just go into the, these floor sections. Once those are removed, this panel comes right out. So what I'm going to do is just rebuild this whole thing exactly how it looks, only using the composite material, the Trex. And the radius piece and this radius piece up here, that'll all be done in Trex material. I didn't want to have to remove this rear jack, but in order to get to this piece of trim, I've got to get this out of the way, because there are screws that go through this steel piece into this skirt brace right here. So there's 4 screws that go, 4 really long screws that go through from here all the way through here, and I got to get this piece of trim out of the way to get to them. So this rear jack needs to be removed. Okay, got the jack removed. I have access to this trim piece. Just need to remove that last screw, and then I can access and get into this corner and pull this phylon back and get to the screws that are through there. All right, with these screws, or these staples cut and these screws removed, I can pull this top sheet of phylon back and see where the skirt meets the frame, the steel frame, or the aluminum frame right up in there. So all of that needs to go. This whole piece up underneath. See, here's the line for the frame all up in here. So this whole side skirt goes up underneath this other piece of phylon. So I'll brace this back so I have access to get this piece out. I'm sure there's some more fasteners holding it to the aluminum frame up there. And I've taken lots of photos and obviously video too, but I want to try to get this piece out intact. I don't want to, I could pretty easily just break it apart and get it out of there, but I'd like to have it intact so I can see how everything's built, where all the braces go, because I just want to, basically copy that when I'm using the composite material to rebuild it. So there were a couple of stubborn screws that were rusted out and I couldn't get, so just cut them with the multi-tool. Just get up in between the wood and the screw head, and this is pretty much ready to come out now. Got a wire tie that's screwed to the back there. get that loosened up, and then I'll just be real careful when I pull it out that I make sure when I lift this back that I get that whole piece all the way up to the aluminum frame, which is right there. Once that's out, I can kind of reverse engineer it with using the composite. Not the back part, but there's a little bit of aluminum bracing right here that I think it's glued to or screwed to, so it's gonna give it a little bit of prying down. Now I can feel the screw right there. I have to pull it down. Okay. There. There it is. It came down in one piece. There were some screws up under here you can see that came in from the top, so I'll have to cut those off. So what I just got done replacing over there is actually part that goes on before the skirt. That's why those screws go in from the top side. I might be able to get those from this compartment here. If I take this door off, I might be able to get to those screws from the top side. So when I go to rebuild this and put it back on, I'll have to run the screws up from the bottom side instead of the top side, or do some brackets or something. So regardless, I got it out in one piece. There it is. Pretty rotten. And I'll show you how they actually put this when they build these side skirts. It's like they didn't even think about water intrusion. I'll show you. So, this is the back side of it, which would be all open to the elements. And, you know, this area here is this area here, which is the wheel well. You know, driving in the rain, when you're driving in the rain, this is all getting soaked. And it's just, it's Luan covered in paper. That's it. Good job, guys. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. The designers for these truck campers back in 2002, 2003. You know, it's not just Fleetwood. It was pretty much all of them did it the same way. You know. Piss poor design work, guys. Now I know these guys, they learned from their mistakes. You know, obviously they had a boatload of, you know, warranty work and recalls and lemon law stuff. And you know, some of the companies that are building truck campers now, the traditional way with the fiberglass sidewalls, the Phylon sidewalls like Lance, they're using the Azdel Substrate instead of Luan. It's still a Phylon outer shell, but it's glued to, instead of a Luan plywood, it's glued to an Azdel composite, which is much lighter than wood, about half the weight of wood, and it has double the insulation value. So yeah, you know, with some failures come some better products out there, and kudos to Lance and some of the other ones that are, some of the other manufacturers that are using Azdel. It's, yeah, that would be the only way I would buy another one of these types of truck campers. My next truck camper will most likely be either a Bigfoot or a Northern Lite. I probably won't do another Phylon style truck camper, aluminum framed. I'll probably do all, you know, the solid clamshell fiberglass, the two-piece. You know, they still leak. You got to keep them sealed. You have to keep the windows sealed and all of the vents and everything. Any place that there's a screw penetration, you've got to put your sealant. You know, there's no excuse for poor maintenance, but you know, having a better product, having a better built product like a Bigfoot or a Northern Lite would be, you know, a lot easier than having to deal with one of these rot boxes. So anyway, you guys just saw it. There's you know, there's a lot of these truck campers out there. If you've got you know, one of these Phylon and Luan backed sided campers, you've got rot. There's no doubt about it. You know, there's delamination and there's rot, period. There's just no way around it. So, but they can be rebuilt. I'm doing it, and I've you know, never done it before. I'm just kind of tearing into it because it's either fix it or get rid of it, and I don't want to get rid of it. I really like the truck camper. I like the layout. We love using it, so just going to repair it, and I want to repair it, you know, correctly, so it's not going to fail again. Yeah, that whole inside panel should have been Phylon, you know, the fiberglass, and that probably wouldn't have rotted out like it did, at least not as quickly. So I'll get to stripping away all this old Luan off of this is the front Phylon panel. That's all fiberglass there. I can clean that up using the scraper attachment on the multi-tool. Clean that up, sand the backside really well, and that'll just get glued. Obviously no Luans going in. It's just going to get glued right to the Trex decking, and then there'll be some foam insulation on the top side, because the top side does go up into the shower area, just underneath the shower, and I want to have that insulated. I don't want it to be open like that, so I think that'll help a little bit with insulation. Yeah, even if I just use the bubble insulation, I'll the Reflectix type stuff, I'll just line everything, maybe even line this whole compartment under the shower and everything with it. So that'll be my project for today. I'm trying to keep these videos short, so a little bit easier to digest and easier to watch, not so long. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.